The local government of Szabolcs-Szatmár-Bereg County Self-Government, as a lead partner, implemented the project titled Supporting the Systematic Discovery of Our Traditions and Sources, abbreviated as Easydoor. The goal is to present the natural and cultural heritage of Szabolcs-Szatmár-Bereg County and Szatmár County in an interactive and modern way, as well as to connect the existing country tourist attractions. The Szabolcs-Szatmár-Bereg County Spatial Development and Environmental Management Agency, the Kölcsei Television, and the Szatmár County Council and the Szatmár County Museum also take part in the cooperation. Among the developments of Kölcsei Television is part of the Eco Park and Visitor Center Park, which presents the country's natural heritage. The Eco Center, built in Nagykálló, Harangod, is a unique building in the region, designed with an advanced ecological approach. Basically, it is an interactive attraction aimed at groups of children and families. Its purpose is to present the natural values of the county, including particularly protected natural values that cannot be visited. However, the environment of the covered central community building next to the 75-hectare lake in Harangod is also being renewed thanks to the Easydoor project. The project establishes a walkway system in the area closely connected to the building. There's a playground, park, baking and grilling areas, seating, playing and skill development elements. Also, visitors can admire the natural environment of the eco-centrum for the pier built next to the wonderful Lake Harangod. Thanks to a cross-border Romanian-Hungarian tender of the Szabolcs-Szatmár-Bereg County Development Agency Non-Profit Ltd., the ground floor building with a floor area of nearly 250 square meters was built in Baktolórendháza, which provides space for the exhibition presenting the noble life of the county. The building consists of two classic gable buildings running parallel with an airy, transparent, flat-roofed connecting space between them. The corner lot can be accessed via the two prominent facades of the building. The visitor center also has a front garden in front of the exhibition hall. When you enter the building, you come to a vestibule visually connected to the garden, where you first encounter an information and cash desk. There is a contiguous exhibition space with a floor area of more than 100 square meters, opening to the north from the forecourt. This is the home of the exhibition presenting the noble life of the county. During the development of the exhibition's installations, the creation of an atmosphere was an important aspect, so that a coherent spatial experience evoking a historical atmosphere could be created in this clean, contemporary space, which makes a decisive impression on the visitor at first sight, so that they can then return home with a unique exhibition experience. The content of the visitor area has been developed in such a way that it can appeal to all age groups. The elements are made up of layers that are both playful and exciting for the smallest, able to hold the attention of the 12 to 16-year-olds. Even those who come in groups can comfortably walk around and accommodate for families as well as for the adult professional community. It has interesting items based on more thorough research. The primary goal is to create an experience which is accompanied by pleasant and unforced learning and information gathering. The service rooms opening to the south contain distribution room that also functions as a cloakroom, disabled accessible men's and women's water blocks, a maintenance room, a storeroom, an office and a kitchenette. The visitor center, built in Baktolórendháza behind the municipal swimming pool, is the development of the Szabolcs-Szatmár-Bereg County Spatial Development and Environmental Management Agency Non-Profit Ltd. In connection with the Zsindelyes Cottage in Érpatak, an interactive exhibition space presenting farm life will be created. The new facility was built thanks to the cross-border Romanian-Hungarian tender of the Szabolcs-Szatmár-Bereg County Territory Development Agency Non-Profit Ltd. The approximately 7,665 square meter plot with a brick floor plan is located opposite the Zsindelyes Cottage building complex along the road plot number 069/2. As part of the development, an interactive exhibition space of nearly 100 square meters was created, which can also host activities and workshops related to various folk traditions and festivals. To fulfill this purpose, the room was designed in such a way that it can act as an excellent location and toolbox for study trips, museum sessions, and lectures that fit the topic. The building hosting the exhibition represents the shape of a barn, also referring to the themes introduced and symbolizing the essential farm buildings. The building has a simple, linear structure with a gabled roof and a usable floor area of 142 square meters, evoking a farm world. There's a large, elongated gate on the street facade, and there are large, barrier-free doors and windows facing each other on the longitudinal facades, providing access to the garden. The continuous exhibition space with a large floor area is characterized by a visible roof chair without horizontal fasteners and a high ceiling height. The background rooms, water blocks, maintenance room, cleaning, storage, and the warehouse are grouped in the rear part of the building. During the planning of the interactive exhibition, the most important goal is the active involvement of the visitors, the creation of a new experience-oriented exhibition space that meets all modern requirements and is developed along the principle of teaching by playing. The function of the new exhibition space complements the offer of Zsindejes Cottage, thus increasing its tourist appeal. The overall goal of the project is to present the cultural heritage of Szabolcs-Szatmár-Bereg County in an interactive and modern way, as well as to connect existing tourist attractions and strengthen their synergies. The architectural design of the new exhibition space strives for a balance between traditional and contemporary design. This gesture also appears in the exhibition, as the theme of the exhibition is the traditional long-ago farm life, which will be brought to the visitors in accordance with the principles of today's exhibition organization, in a modern formulation and by observing the principles of interpretation in line with today's trends. As part of the Easydoor tender, Szabolcs-Szatmár-Bereg County Regional Development Agency Non-Profit Ltd. established a new literary museum in Nyíregyháza thanks to a cross-border Romanian-Hungarian tender. In fact, the building of the András Jósa Museum was expanded with a contemporary extension. A new building was created, which is organically connected to the county museum. The building, with ground floor and with the first floor, is almost 465 square meters. It is connected to the levels of the existing museum, both on the ground floor and on the upper level, and its visitors' route leads through the new building to the inner courtyard. The building was built from ceramic load-bearing masonry, reinforced with reinforced concrete pillars in some places. The facade of the inner courtyard is entirely made of profiled glass, sandwich structure, filtered opal, papyrus-like light transmission properties, ideal for the functioning of exhibitions. On the first floor, there's an exhibition space, a closed and open mechanical room, and on the ceiling there are vents designed for natural ventilation. From the exhibition space, the ground floor can be reached by elevator or by a barrier-free staircase. On the ground floor, there are water blocks and a museum shop, a cafe, as well as other background rooms. In front of the facade, there's a wide, relaxing terrace, which is connected to the garden by a staircase. The building is barrier-free. The focal point of the exhibition, created in the upstairs exhibition space, is Gyula Krudi and the World of Nyírség, the literary life of Nyíregyháza and Nyírség. During the planning of the interactive exhibition, the most important goal was the active involvement of visitors, the creation of a new experience-oriented exhibition space that meets all modern requirements and was developed along the principle of teaching by playing. The function of the new exhibition space complements the offer of the András Jósa Museum, thereby increasing its tourist attraction. In the architectural design of the new exhibition space, it strives for a balance between traditional and contemporary design, which is brought to the visitors in accordance with the principles of today's exhibition organization in a modern formulation and by observing the principles of interpretation. Thanks to Easydoor's Romanian-Hungarian cross-border project, Kölcsei Television aimed to create a rural tourism correspondent network within the framework of which it implemented infrastructural investments and small-scale marketing activities in the border towns of Máté Szalka, Kisvárda and Fehérgyarmat. Marketing and media centers have been renovated to provide continuous marketing activities related to the region's integrated tourist services and attractions. Cultural events and attractions based on heritage values are promoted in an integrated package-like manner in the border area. In coordination with their marketing activities, the centers can provide basic infrastructure for the activities of any medium. In this way, the media strengthen the regional tourism offer and marketing. During the development, the most up-to-date studio technology was installed in the media room. In Kisvárda, on the pedestrian street at number 20, Szent László Street, a marketing and media center established in its building, interior design transformations that did not require a permit or notification took place. During the renovation, a change of function was realized as the office became a media and marketing center. The technical rooms, namely the media room, the studio, the control room and also the technical room, as well as the IT rooms, were located at the end of the building next to each other. Thanks to this, arriving guests can only enter the technical zone purposefully. During the development, the most recent studio technology was installed in the media room. Nyírbátor is a cultural small town with the largest historical past in the county. The Báthori family was one of the most influential ruling dynasties of the Middle Ages, not only in Hungary but also in Transylvania, the Highlands, Poland and Lithuania. A true European noble family spanning the border, whose heyday was in the 14th, 15th and 16th centuries. During this period, serious architectural and cultural heritage was created here in Nyírbátor, and countless legends surround the nearly 300 years. Countless investments and developments have been made on this historical heritage in recent years, in the framework of which the medieval monuments, churches, the castle, the city history promenade, as well as several sites and attractions have been renovated. Thanks to the Easydoor cross-border project, the city's historical promenade will be completed in the historic city center, connecting the three historic churches, the castle and the István Báthori Museum, and present the city's medieval history. The promenade is also part of the Marian pilgrimage route through Europe. Another element of the development is the establishment of a pilgrim's rest area on the route continuing towards Mária Pucs, on the site of which is located in the riding hall area of Gyulai Forest owned by the municipality. The pilgrim's resting place to be built here will take tourists and passers-by back to the Middle Ages, to the era of the Báthorians. As part of the second element, several sites and attractions will be established, of which the central element is the design of a medieval building for pilgrims, such as the one from the 14th and 15th centuries, which awaited travelers and provided the services that guaranteed the comfort of weary travelers. There is also a community space in the building, which also serves as a venue for tourism events and takes guests back to the Middle Ages. The Roman Catholic Church of Ajok was consecrated in honor of the Blessed Virgin Mary. The Roman Catholic parish in the town of Fényeslitka can be seen from afar among the trees with its exquisite snow-white walls that suggest purity. The Gavo settlement itself is an ancient settlement from the Arpad era. It is still the property of the Szabolcs Manor founded by King Saint Stephen. The papal teeth register already mentions it in 1332 and 37 as a temple place whose priest is Miklós. Then, as it's usual in this region, the 13th century church in the 16th century became the property of the Calvinists. The Roman Catholics living in the settlement belonged to the parish of Zalkod and later to Újvencsellő. The 18th and the 19th century, the Jászulvár Premontre Provost established a chapel in honor of the Holy Trinity on the property here. The church in Gavovencsellő was built in 1834 in Baroque style and was consecrated in honor of the Blessed Virgin Mary. History has not spared the church and the congregation. The retreating German troops blew up the tower in 1944, which also destroyed the organ. Most recently, in 2021, with the help of the Romanian-Hungarian tender, it was possible to renovate the church inside and out, making it perhaps more beautiful than ever. After 2 years of modernization and difficulties, the church was handed over to the faithful in the fall of 2023. The predecessor of the Roman Catholic Church in Kisvárda was built in the 11th century by our king Saint László, according to the legend, in memory of his defeat of the Kunz. The building was not spared by history. It was battered by both the Tatar invasion and the wars of independence. In the 17th century, the Reformed took over the church. In 1722, as a Catholic again, Bishop Erdődy had the sanctuary restored. In 1788, Esterházy had the church built on the old foundations, which was completed in 1806. An organ was also built in 1858. The present-day appearance of the church is in the late Baroque style, but its sanctuary shows earlier Gothic-style features. The guardian stones found here are remarkable. They depict the church's patron saints, Saint Peter and Saint Paul, as well as Saint László, King Sigismund, during whose reign the Vardai family rose, and presumably 2 members of the landowner family. The sanctuary and nave of the medieval church of the former market town were covered with a single unbroken roof. At the west end of the nave there is a projecting helmless tower with stone-framed entrance. The tower is a 4-story, pleasantly proportioned structure with a clock cornice and 4 semicircular, shuttered windows on the top floor facing the world's 4 quarters. After the Tatar invasion, the settlement named Máté and Szalka appears in the certificates as a repopulated village. In 1303, the church of Máté village, built in honor of Saint Michael, was also mentioned. In the 1320s, the village names Kis and Belszalka and in 1367 Máté Szalka appear in the certificates. In 1332, the parish priest of Máté church was priest Mihály. During these times, the church was built in Romanesque style in the inner part of the 2 merged villages with the twin-windowed buttress tower, which came into the possession of the Calvinists around 1550. The spiritual care of the remaining Catholics was carried out by the priest of Papus. In 1860, Máté Szalka received a seconded chaplain in the person of Lukács Tivadar, who celebrated Mass in the school chapel dedicated to the Holy Trinity. In 1863, Count István Károly donated a plot of land for the church. Although the foundation was laid, the parish house was also built. The church was only built in 1893 by the Bishop of Szatmár, Gyula Meszlényi, at his own expense and consecrated on the 30th of September 1894 in honor of Saint Joseph. In 1888, Ágoston Vadász became the head of the parish, who was actually the organizer of the church in Mátészalka. Most recently, the church was renovated with the help of a Romanian-Hungarian tender. The windows and doors were replaced, the facade and the roof were modernized. The tower was renovated and the inside of the church was also painted. In the part of Nagykálló, formerly known as Rácváros, there is a Greek Catholic church dedicated to the protection of the Archangel Saint Michael, on the side of which, according to former engravings, there was probably a wooden church and it served the Serbian population who fled here from the Turks. A special value is the beautiful wrought iron cross at the top of the facade. Today's Greek Catholic church was already standing in 1634, probably the oldest building in the town. Since it was rebuilt several times, according to archaeological investigations, the sanctuary part of the church is the oldest, 400–500 years old, but its foundations suggest that it was built during the Árpád era. Its nave was built in 1786 with a tower above its entrance. It is a rare solution that a church model can be found in the altar cabinet. The pulpit is made in braid style. The defining main picture of the church was painted with local aspects by Emanuel Petraszowski. For example, the coat of arms of the city can be seen on it. Originally, there was a bell tower above the western entrance side of the church. It was demolished in the early 1940s because its walls were cracked, but it was rebuilt in the summer of 2006. After the demolition of the tower, the bells are rung on the belfry on the side of the church. The Greek Catholics of the city originally belonged to the neighboring parish of Olyok. As early as 1838, the faithful here informed the Bishop of Munkachevo that they wanted to buy a plot of land for the purpose of building a church. In 1854, they again expressed their intention to build a church, at which time the city promised the community a plot of land for the church. The actual work could only begin half a century later. In 1888, they started collecting donations. Based on the plans of József Tutkovics, construction began in 1893 and the completed church was consecrated in 1897 by Bishop Gyula Fircák of Munkachevo. Since at the turn of the 19th and 20th centuries, the number of Greek Catholics living in the city doubled and exceeded 1,100, and the need to establish an independent parish also rose, which happened in 1914. Becoming independent gave the community a new impetus. Around the turn of the millennium, the church was completely renovated. Its interior painting was cleaned, the iconostasis and the main altar with a canopy were reglided. A new sanctuary was added to the latter and the exterior was also restored. In the square in front of the church, a series of icon pillars present the most important holidays of the church year. The Greek Catholic population settled in the village in the first half of the 1700s. It is certain that Ferenc Kállai already settled foreign serfs around the 1720s on the Kálló-Semjén estate, where there was a shortage of workers and a significantly reduced population. As a result of the plantations, 70 Greek Catholic families lived in the village at that time. In 1786, there were already 660, and by 1806, their number had dropped to 473. The newcomers were also given the abandoned medieval church in the center of the village, which, according to the 1747 census, only had its sanctuary. The old building was gradually renovated, but only a part could be restored. It was transformed in accordance with the requirements of the Byzantine Rite and constructed in honor of the Archangel Saint Michael. The new church, in the eclectic style, with a wide nave and a high western tower, was completed in 1897. Only a part of the sanctuary remains from the old one, whose medieval origin is indicated by the polygonal closure and the buttresses. Baldacchino's main altar was made in 1904 by the Institute of Art Design of Rétai and Benedek in Budapest, and then the complete new iconostasis was also ordered from them. The murals of the walls and side walls were painted by László Benke in 1960. The old main altar, still visible today, depicts the ascension of the church's patron saint, the Virgin Mary. The name of the Árpád-era settlement was already mentioned in 1284 in one of the documents kept in the Zichy archive as Villa Zekul, Iliatelke, Juha and Őze, which fell within the settlement's borders, are now destroyed settlements. The name of the settlement indicates that it was once the residence of the turf guards. The first mention of the village was around 1284. The church dedicated to Saint Michael was first mentioned in 1324. In its current form, the building is closed with a one-nave, semicircular sanctuary of the same width and height as the nave, supported by buttresses and built entirely of brick. The facade of the ship is broken by two windows with semicircular closures. The entrance to the church opens in the central axis of the western facade of the nave. The archaeological research carried out in 2007 brought surprising results. It turned out that the original sanctuary was demolished, and in the middle of the 18th century, a completely new part of the building was erected. The sanctuary of the church was previously believed to be from the Árpád period. According to the results of the research, the first church built of red bricks was already standing in 1324. Presumably, it was built at the turn of the 12th and the 13th centuries by the Hunt-Pázmány family. In the second construction period, the western wall and gate of the nave were demolished, and then the church was extended in the western direction. The western corners of the nave, which was enlarged in this way, were strengthened with diagonal step-shaped buttresses. In the south wall of the nave, two window openings with semicircular closures were created. The new entrance was opened in the western wall. The gate has an arched closure, and above it there is also an arched niche. According to both folk tradition and written data, the village got its name from the conquering leader Tosh. According to anonymous, leader Tosh, at the request of the surrendered people, establishing a marketplace between the Nyír and Tisza rivers, he gave his own name to the marketplace, which is still called Tosvásárhely. The village of Tos in this place has indeed preserved the name of Tos. The first records of the village's medieval church, dedicated to Mary, date back to 1299. A document from 1766 mentions the village's medieval church, which was used by the Reformed. Its walls were cracked, its pillars on the eastern and northern sides were knocked down. The church retained its medieval character throughout. Its tower was built in the 1880s in front of the southern facade. During the renovation in 1974, two former Gothic windows were found, as well as the arched doorway on the west and north sides. On the left side of the entrance of the nave, with a flat ceiling, there's a white painted organ gallery supported by simple carved wooden columns. The lute motif in the middle comes from the 60s of the 19th century. In the lower part of the gallery, the 18th century simple painted and burned wood covering with floral motifs is visible in white, blue and brown colors. Eperjeske is a settlement of 1,200 people close to the border of Ukraine. The life of the congregation is also affected by the fact that not only young people but also middle-aged people migrate from the settlement in search of work opportunities. However, in the last 11 years, thank God, the number of members of the Reformed congregation has not decreased to a great extent, and there are always more people on festive occasions and communion services. The parish tries to help the needy, to provide jobs for the locals, and in addition, those in need of help always receive a lot of attention at religious occasions. In the life of the congregation, they also try to draw attention to the fact that non-tangible things mean much more to children, since they are values that will be present throughout their lives. A person's happiness does not depend on what he has, but on how he views the world. The Reformed Church was built in 1821, as stated in the documents of the time, 1776 year. As long as the registers of the church went up, there were a total of 41 families, 210 souls. The small church built on the hedge fence and the wooden tower was torn down in 1826. In 1826, the members of the church built a stone church and the tower.
The content of this material does not necessarily represent the official position of the European Union.